What's up, guys? It's your boy Dave in the Cave coming to you live and direct from my man cave here in New Jersey. This video is literally the fallout from the 3 Men in a Basement takeover that myself and Nemesis Prime just did a little bit earlier this evening. Really just wanted to recap the books that we unveiled and really give you a better sense of some of the different things that I had come back as far as grades. We can definitely talk about condition and some of the backstory on all of this stuff that you ultimately saw on the live chat on the live stream. So let's jump into it. Again, it's 15 books. I'm actually going to start with the 9.8s. It's a nice novelty to have. So let's just jump right into it, right? So to start things off, I have a USPS Marvel Comics comic book and stamp set. So this was actually a no number book. It's actually almost a trade paperback. It literally showcases Amazing Spider-Man #1, and you can certainly see the 9.8 there. But also, if you flip it around, it also includes the Fantastic Four #1 story. I actually read this before I subbed it in. Really cool to have both stories in one book, and like I said on the stream, it's really the closest that I'm gonna get to a Amazing Spider-Man #1. So moving on, I also have an Amazing Spider-Man number 800. This is actually a ratio variant. It's a 1 in 25, and it's done by none other than Gabriel Dell'Otto. This cover is absolutely pure insanity. There's actually a couple different versions of it out there. Sorry, messing with the glare, but definitely happy to have this one. Didn't pay a lot for it. Actually got it on New Comic Book Day when all of the 800s did get released. Next up is an Amazing Spider-Man #6. This is actually an Unknown Comics exclusive. There are actually 3 of them. I actually have one graded already. It came back a Blue Label 9.8. It's actually the Virgin copy of this particular cover. I also literally today just got the Venomized version. You'll actually see that in another video, probably a little bit later on this weekend. And this one is actually the trade dress, so it's a cover A, and it actually showcases the ladies of the Spider-Verse. Felicia Hardy, Mary Jane Watson, and Spider-Gwen. Cover art on this is by Mike Mayhew. Super big fan of his. I really, more recently have been, after his cover, so really happy to ultimately add it to the collection. Next, we'll jump into the indies. Big indie comic guy. Definitely this particular series. Literally just wrapping up, trying to get caught up on it. But this is actually a Sex Criminals #1. This actually came back a 9.8 as well. Really happy to have it. Actually do have 2, 3, and 4 that I'm thinking about grading. Not necessarily sure, but shout out to Darkside Jedi on the Lords of the Long Box channel. This is actually one of 3 books you'll actually see here on this video. The next 9.8, it's actually the second to last. This is actually a Deadly Class #1. This is actually a photo variant from San Diego Comic-Con last year. Really cool cover. Sorry, messing with the glare once again, but really happy to have it. Certainly shout out to Nemesis Prime on really picking this up for us a few weeks back, actually a little bit longer than that. And then finally, just as far as the 9.8s are concerned, this is actually the variant cover. One of the tougher ones to get in a high grade. Really happy to ultimately have it in the collection. So, hey guys, that's the 9.8s. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 9.8s out of a lot of 15. Pretty good odds. Definitely with the modern stuff, it does tend to be a little bit easier. So let's just jump into some of the other books that I have. So probably the biggest book that I have out of this particular invoice, it's actually a first appearance, and of course big shocker, it is an Amazing Spider-Man book. So this is first appearance Kraven, actually the first mention of Mary Jane Watson, as well as the second appearance of the Chameleon. So Amazing Spider-Man number 15, there it is in all its glory. Really stoked to have this. Certainly it is perfect timing with the rumored announcements of him being and popping up in Black Panther 2. I actually hope it does come to fruition. I think that's an absolutely fantastic way to bring him in. Really interested to see if and when they ultimately do it. So next book here is an Amazing Spider-Man 212, First Hydro Man. This came in at a 7.5. I actually graded this myself. I actually thought it was going to come in at an 8.0, so I wasn't necessarily far off. We'll eventually look to upgrade it. I mean, again, who knows what's going to happen with him, and if he does ultimately end up in another movie or two. So hey, you know what, we'll see what happens, guys. Next is actually going to be let's see here, what do we got? This is an Amazing Spider-Man 265, first appearance of Silver Sable. This came back higher than I thought it was going to come back. Really happy to add it into the PC. Who knows, I mean, with her being in the video game, that was absolutely fantastic. I would hope they would certainly try to put her in something else. Moving right along, we have a Marvel team up. So this is actually Marvel team up 55, Spider-Man and Warlock. This is actually the first time the Soul Stone pops up in the overall storyline. There's actually a first appearance here of the Gardener, and again, not necessarily a relevant character in this day and age, but hey, who knows? I mean, I dug the cover. Big Warlock fan, obviously a huge Spider-Man fan, and I'm actually collecting all the books that the Infinity Stones do pop up in. So we'll grade those over the course of time, like we talked about on the live stream over on the 3 Men in a Basement channel. Next up is actually an Amazing Spider-Man number 4. This is actually cover A, the first appearance of Silk, and this one came back a 9.2. Wasn't expecting a 9.8 on this. Again, there was a pretty big dent in the corner down here. Sent it off to our presser. Shout out to the comic book presser down in North Carolina. He was able to work his magic on on a lot of the books that you've seen in the overall live stream. Next up, not too many books left. I think we got 2 or 3 left. This is actually an Amazing Spider-Man number 300. This is actually the mini comic. It's actually a Walmart exclusive, and it was exclusive to a Spider-Man number 2 DVD promo. So really cool. I mean, you don't see all these all too often pop up. I like that were able to center it right in the case, which is again, for presentation purposes. I mean, you always want things to look nice, and certainly this one does as well, and certainly the 9.4 definitely doesn't hurt. So next up, guys, this is actually going to be an Amazing Spider-Man number 798. This is the first appearance of Norman Osborn as the Red Goblin. So as you heard from Nemesis Prime on the stream, definitely some rumors coming out on where he could pop up next as the Red Goblin. I mean, like I said earlier, I mean, I do have 3 other copies of this book, so definitely we'll try to sub 1 or 2 other ones in, really just to get that that 9.8, and hey, see what happens. Next up, this is actually the second to last book. So this is actually Amazing Spider-Man number 692. This is actually the 1970s variant cover. There's also a first appearance here. It's actually the first appearance of Alpha. Really, this is honestly one of my favorite covers when it comes to issue 692. Again, I think that kind of speaks for itself and what's going on there. Actually, again, these covers are usually relatively tough to get because they are solid blocked out covers, and really hard to get in a high grade, just because you do see every tick, every dent, and pretty much everything in between. Last book here, Process of Elimination. This is actually going to be the Amazing Spider-Man number 365, your first appearance of Spider-Man 2099. Really stoked to have this in a 9.6, especially with as big of a book it is. Again, it's certainly, I would say, the same size as the Amazing Spider-Man 800s that came out, and the fact that, again, it's a hologram cover, it's got a black cover, so for it to come back in 9.6, I'm really excited. So that is the slate, guys. Really excited with a lot of the grades that came back. Was actually surprised at some that came back a lot higher, so definitely looking to keep the momentum going there. Like I said on the stream, I do have 8 more books over at CGC as we speak, and let me tell you, that invoice is heavy. I mean, early Spidey. I think the earliest one that I do have on that invoice is an Amazing Spider-Man number 5. I think it's number 5, number 10, 121, 122, 37, 41, 42. So definitely some heavy stuff. Really looking forward to ultimately getting that invoice back at some point. I mean, God only knows when that's coming back. So, stay posted here. You'll definitely know as soon as I do. Definitely want to, bring the crew on, and we can certainly talk through those. But ultimately, thanks guys for stopping by. Really excited that, we were able to get the live stream in. Please sub up, like, comment on anything that you're seeing. Also, again, sub up to the crew. Very Gary Comics, NY Warriors, 3 Men in a Basement, Lords of the Long Box. They're all pushing great content, and definitely channels that I do follow on the regular. So officially, this is Dave in the Cave officially signing out. Thanks, guys.